guys, so two things first. One, I'm sorry about the camera angle on the last video. I don't even know what happened there. I think I just accidentally zoomed in on the lens and it's just terrible. As much as you hated watching it, I promise it was way worse editing it. Spending all that time just looking at my face, like this much of my face. It was terrible. Yeah, I kind of was toying with the idea of having just like a really wide shot for this one, or just like me completely out of frame to like compensate, but I figured that'd be funny for like 2 seconds, and then it's like, okay, we get the joke. Yeah, so that's the first thing. The second thing, what I ate today, I know some of you would have asked for me to bring it back. Again, it's like, it's just the same, I'm eating just the same stuff. If you watch the last one, it's pretty much just that. I still have the 2 smoothies every day. Haven't really been eating the noodles very much over the last couple of weeks just because I'm lazy. Don't feel like making it. It doesn't take a lot of time, but whatever. Peanut butter sandwiches have made their way back into the rotation. I ate a lot of those during the first trimester because it's like the only thing I could eat. Yeah, so I've been eating a lot of peanut butter sandwiches. Let's see what else. Oh, I am eating some greens now other than just scallions and the noodles. I actually started adding spinach to the like fruitier smoothie, the blueberry orange juice one. Just a little, like 2 to 3 small handfuls, I guess. I don't know. I just put some in there. I buy the packaged spinach that's pre-washed and then just put it in the freezer. And so it lasts forever. I don't have to worry about it going bad. It's really, really easy. And then I just grab some out and put it in my smoothie when I make my smoothies. So I'm getting at least a little bit of greens. We did get some broccoli, I think like last week, 'cause it was on sale. Broccoli crowns was like 88 cents a pound, which is pretty good. And so we got some of that. And I tried like, because I usually really like broccoli. Just steamed broccoli, salt, pepper, maybe some lemon juice, nutritional yeast. It's like really good. I can eat like half a pound of broccoli, no problem. But I just can't, I don't have room for anything. And it's just not, I can have a couple pieces and it's like, I'm good. So tried steaming some and then it's like that, there's just no way I can finish all this. So we ended up roasting it and it's good, but I'm still like working my way through it. It's just, oh man, vegetables are just not for me right now. But the spinach in the smoothies helps. Yeah, and that's just pretty much it. Still having coffee and just, other stuff. Was eating the deli slices. I wish they were cheaper. 'Cause, man, I love that sandwich. Just the deli slices, the tofurkey, the peppered ones with tomato and avocado. Oh, yeah, we got some avocado that was on sale. So that's really good to add. Like half an avocado sliced on it. And some lettuce and the just mayo, salt, pepper. I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, it's really good, but it's just, it's a little too, it's like $3 for one of those tiny little packages that's got like 3 servings in it, I think. It's a little too expensive. But yeah, so today going to talk about, that was probably longer than I meant it to be. I said that would be quick, but whatever. Yeah, gonna talk about a few different things. Eating the placenta, I'll save that for last. And also home birth stuff and medication. So first, home births, and I guess I'll break it down by both kind of brands. I guess there are a lot of different types, but the 2 major ones, unassisted and assisted. So unassisted, will I have an unassisted? No. You probably already guessed that. No, of course not. Infant mortality has declined because of medical interventions, not in spite of them. The evidence is pretty clear on that point. It's extremely risky, whether you're high risk or not. Even if you're low risk, I am low risk. But I mean, even little things, like for me, I've tested GBS positive during my pregnancy. So, and I'm also Rh negative. So both of which require medical interventions, both during and after labor. So in the case of GBS, antibiotics. In the case of negative blood type, you get a vaccine before pregnancy around 28 weeks, and then after as well if the baby tests Rh positive. There's so many things that can go wrong during a low risk pregnancy that goes beyond 42 weeks, stalled labor, umbilical cord prolapse, umbilical cord compression, breech birth. There's so many different things. And that doesn't even touch on the complications that can occur for you or for your baby after birth. Any woman or her partner, her husband, whatever, who think that they can handle these situations on their own, they're just completely delusional. I don't think they're selfish. I'm sure some of them are, but I don't think the majority are. They're often portrayed that way, which is understandable. We're talking about babies and baby lives, and people get really upset about that stuff. But I think it's just like with the anti-vaccine stuff. People are just, they're not trying to hurt their children. They think they're doing what's best for their child. They really think that having an unassisted birth is the best. It's the most natural, and it's the best way to have a baby. Just like people who don't want to vaccinate, they think that vaccines are bad for their children, so they don't want to vaccinate. In both cases, it's completely mistaken. So now, assisted birth. So I'm actually going to quote myself from, this is a response on my pregnancy announcement video. Someone asked me about assisted births, and here's what I said. For a woman with a low-risk pregnancy assisted by a CNM, not a CPM, and located near a hospital, home birth seems to be about as safe as a hospital birth. So I figured I'd just expand on that a little bit for people who don't know the difference between CNM and CPM. Apparently a lot of women in the US do not, and this seems to be the biggest problem why home births are not as safe in the US as they are in other places like Canada. So as CNM and CPN, CNM stands for Certified Nurse Midwives, and CPM stands for Certified Professional Midwives in the US again, and they are completely different things. So CNMs are, quote, perhaps the best educated, best trained midwives in the world, exceeding standards set by the International Confederation of Midwives. Their qualifications, similar to those of midwives in Canada, include a university degree in midwifery and extensive training in a hospital diagnosing and managing complications. So this is from Why is American Home Birth So Dangerous? This was an article for the New York Times by Dr. Amy Tudor. She's a retired OBGYN. She writes at skepticalob.com. I recommend checking out her stuff. She has really interesting stuff. I think she's a little aggressive sometimes, a little overly mean and vitriolic. She's kind of one of the people who treats anyone who is a little on the crunchy side as more selfish, I think. And I don't think that's fair, and I think she's missing out on reaching a lot of people because of her demeanor. It doesn't offend me because I agree with her most of the time, but I can see how someone who's on the fence is like, what the fuck? Why is this lady being such a bitch? She's being really awful to these people. So yeah, I think that's kind of a perfect example of that. But she has some really good information on C-sections and epidurals, which I'll talk about in a minute. And this article is really good. She's not at all mean or anything in it. It's definitely worth a read. Yeah, so again, the title is Why is American Home Birth So Dangerous? Well, it's so dangerous because of the CPMs, which I believe she says in the article, many, or if not most, American women actually end up choosing. I think mostly because they just don't know the difference. I didn't know there was a difference until I started reading this. I think most people just assume that a midwife is a midwife, right? They all have the same kind of training. So CPMs receive their education through correspondence courses and their training through apprenticeships with another CPM, observing several dozen births and presiding at fewer. How woefully inadequate is this education? In 2012, the requirements were updated to require proof of a high school diploma. Again, that is from Amy Tudor's article. Yeah, they're allowed to practice in 28 states. Why they are allowed to practice is completely beyond me. So yeah, getting a CNM and not a CPM seems to be really like the most important thing if you do want to have a home birth. I think also probably interviewing them would be a good idea. It's recommended to interview doctors as well to find one, that works for you and that you feel like you can trust. And I think it should be the same with a midwife, especially in this case, because, certain things like you have certain kind of, I guess, weather vane questions that you can ask, like regarding anti-vax or high risk. You know, if you come across a midwife who is totally anti-vaccine or even partially one of the, I'm not anti-vax, but, and then talking about delayed schedules, or is like, oh yeah, I can totally treat you even if you're high risk, even if you have gestational diabetes. Yeah, run away. Run far away. So I continue in my response. However, complications requiring hospital equipment can arise even for low-risk pregnancies. Personally, I have no desire to have a home birth or a birth at a birthing center, partially because I once need that epidural. I felt so stupid saying that. It's one thing to write that, it's another thing to say it. But yeah, so for me, you know, I would just feel so much safer in a hospital setting surrounded by nurses and doctors and a bunch of medical equipment that I don't understand than I would in my apartment. I think it was Amy Tudor, Dr. Tudor, who said something like she gave birth not to give birth, but to raise a child, you know, to have a child. And I think that's how I feel about it. You know, I'm not looking to have a birthing experience. I'm not looking for empowerment or fun. I'm not expecting this to be empowering or fun. I'm expecting it to be really stressful and tiring and painful. And anything that can help with that can alleviate those things in some way, I am totally for. Which brings me to the epidural. So as I said in that comment, I plan on getting an epidural. You know, I didn't deny myself pain medication when I got my wisdom teeth removed, or when I got, you know, fillings, or even when I have, like, you know, terrible menstrual cramps. Why would I deny myself medication when I am pushing a watermelon out of my vagina? It just seems really silly to me. I like this quote from the ACOG. They state, "There is no other circumstance in which it is considered acceptable for a person to experience untreated severe pain amenable to safe intervention while under a physician's care." There is a reason why the vast majority of women have unmedicated births if they have the option. I believe it's something like over 80% of women who give birth end up having some sort of medication. And usually that medication is an epidural. An epidural is extremely effective at reducing pain, even really eliminating pain. And it is safe. There are some minor side effects, some severe as well, but they're very, very rare. Typically side effects, something like low blood pressure. Also itchiness apparently is pretty common, and there's no evidence that it affects the baby. And, you know, nothing is really side effect free. I think people are under the assumption that, you know, I know some women, they're like, okay, yeah, the epidural has very minimal side effects, but the fact that it has any, I'm going to go with natural. But they're just assuming that a natural birth doesn't, but it actually may. There is some evidence of it being linked to PTSD and postpartum depression. Plus, just on a personal note, when two women who have had 7 unmedicated vaginal births between them tell you explicitly, get the epidural, I feel like I should listen to that. Of course, you know, you never know. There are cases where you just can't get an epidural. My doctor did tell me that. I mean, I'm glad that she asked, you know, do you want one? We can go ahead and put it in your file. I was like, yes, I do. And she was like, okay, I just want you to know that you might not be able to if your labor just happens to be really fast or something like that. There's some other complications, like, you know. It's like, yeah, okay, but still plan to get one. So now on to the placenta, eating the placenta. So first, I guess, is it vegan? I actually didn't put that in my notes, but I just remembered that I guess that's a thing. Probably like the breastfeeding thing. Yeah, just like breastfeeding. Yeah, it is vegan. It's your thing. You can't exploit yourself. So go ahead, eat the placenta. It's still vegan. But no, I will not be eating my placenta. Like the typical desire for an unassisted home birth or an assisted home birth, the rationale for this one for eating the placenta is typically steeped in appeal to nature fallacy. You know, animals in the wild eat their placenta, so we should too. It's like, yeah, they do, but that's because they have to. You know, they don't have access to the the nurses and midwives and husbands who are perfectly willing to, and grocery stores, they're perfectly willing to bring us food after labor. The mother goat doesn't really have that option. As OBGYN Maggie Blott says, animals eat their placenta to get nutrition, but when people are already well nourished, there is no benefit, there is no reason to do it. And yet some people swear by it, claiming that it prevents postpartum depression and that it improves lactation, improves breastfeeding somehow. Not really sure. Big surprise, there is no evidence supporting these claims. Only anecdotes like, Kim Kardashian. And actually, I don't know. She said she was going to do it. Has she done it? I don't know. But if Kim K is going to do it, it must be good, I guess. That said, I do think that women should be allowed to eat their placenta. That sounds really weird, but there was actually a case in Mississippi. Maybe there have been other ones as well, I'm not sure. So the woman had a hospital birth, and then she wanted to take her placenta home with her, and the hospital said, no, you can't do that because it's medical waste, and state law says that medical waste, you got to get a court order if you want to take it. And so she did. She went and got a court order, and she retrieved her placenta. It's stupid. Again, there's no reason to eat the placenta unless you were malnourished. This woman very, very likely wasn't living in the US. But I think it's important to think about unintended consequences, like I talked about in the Italian vegan parents being put in jail video. What's more likely that's just all these vegan parents are just going to go, okay, I'm not going to feed my kids vegan, and then it's going to reduce the risk of malnourished children? Or are these vegan parents, at least some of them, the ones, most likely to end up with malnourished kids anyway because they aren't feeding them correctly or believe that supplements are evil or whatever, are they just more likely to just forgo medical care, all doctor visits and stuff for their children? That doesn't seem like a good outcome to me. In the same vein, what kind of parents are more likely, what kind of mother is more likely to want to eat her placenta? Probably a pretty crunchy one, right? So making it difficult for these moms to retrieve their placenta from the hospital, it may just push them to be more receptive, if they aren't already, to home births or even unassisted home births. Again, I don't think that's a very good outcome. So that's it. That's my position on those things. That's how I kind of feel about those things. This was, I'm going off of evidence, but I know most of this is like personal decision. I'm not saying that someone who doesn't get an epidural is just an idiot. I'm not saying that at all. I understand there are some people who, are not crunchy at all and not just, using appeal to nature fallacies. They just, for whatever reason, just don't want an epidural, and that's fine. I'm not at all being antagonistic towards you or criticizing you or anything like that. Just explaining why I would get an epidural. I guess the one exception would be the unassisted births. I mean, that is, again, I do believe that most people who are doing it, they believe they're doing the right thing, but that is just really dangerous, really terrible. Again, the home birth's not for me at all, but I know I've even gotten a few messages from people and seen some comments who are like, look, I'm really not a crunchy person. I wanted a home birth, for my own reasons. And that's totally cool. And you're probably the type of person who's going to research and receive, quality care. You're not just going to find some CPM who believes that the mother's body is beautiful and magical and we're warriors and we can just push babies out and we don't need doctors, that kind of crazy stuff. Birth is really dangerous is what I'm saying. That's why I want to be in a hospital. It's really dangerous for me and the baby. Oh, and then the placenta thing. I mean, I guess if you want to do it, whatever. I don't really care that much. I think it's a little weird. And I do worry about, some people are having it sent off and it's supposedly put into capsules and that's not regulated at all. So it's kind of like the supplement industry and the alternative medicine and herbal industry and all these things that people take and they don't really know what they are, and it's not really regulated because it's a food instead of a drug, even though some of them have some pretty serious side effects. So that kind of thing is rather concerning, but I think most people are just getting it. I know some people actually cook it as a steak kind of thing. I think some people just like wear it. They put it in something and wear it. I think that's the thing. And then the burying it. I mean, whatever. It's fine. It's weird, but it's fine. Yeah, so thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any comments or questions, leave them down below. I will have a video on, it'll probably just be on breastfeeding and soy formula and stuff. I definitely want to do that one. But any other topics that you would like me to cover with regard to pregnancy and vegan pregnancy? I know this wasn't exclusively vegan, but these are things that are, you know, a lot of vegans are pretty crunchy, pretty into the natural stuff, so they may be more into the home births and unassisted and eating the, maybe not eating the placenta. That probably not. I don't know. I'd have to look into that. And unmedicated and things like that. So I figured I would touch on that. But yeah, leave your stuff below. Subscribe if you want to subscribe. And I will have a new video